Number 8. Michael da Silva. In a chilling turn of events on what seemed like an ordinary day in May 2022, a 28-year-old Brazilian man named Michael da Silva confessed to a brutal crime that shook the nation. The victim, Mayara Raqueto, a 23-year-old university student, fell victim to a horrifying attack that happened because da Silva's wanted her cell phone. Da Silva's actions were captured on camera before he was arrested by the police. He later admitted to ambushing and fatally stabbing Raqueto 28 times. The disturbing details of the crime slowly came out as authorities discovered the victim's cell phone hidden in da Silva's underwear. This unsettling crime unfolded in the city of São João da Boa Vista, where da Silva was taken into custody after a dramatic foot chase through a wooded area. Reports from Brazilian media claimed that da Silva battled schizophrenia, which likely played a major role in his actions. But the tragedy took an even more chilling turn when authorities found out that da Silva had a prior history of violence, including an attempted murder of his neighbor just one day before Raqueto's death. He'd apparently lured his neighbor to his house under the false pretext of moving some furniture, only to then assault her. Da Silva was also wanted for trying to kill his stepfather. Raqueto, a biology student aspiring to become a teacher one day, met her untimely demise while taking a calm, leisurely walk near her family's condo. Da Silva saw her and quickly demanded her cell phone, an item that would tragically cause her violent death. Despite the initial confrontation, where Raqueto may have considered running or resisting, da Silva's aggression prevailed as he brutally stabbed her in her arm, hand, chest, and head. The impact of this incident echoed throughout Raqueto's community, leaving her friends and family mourning her sudden loss. Her childhood friend, Beatriz Galdino, was the one who discovered her lifeless body, expressing grief and anger at this senseless act of violence. The crime sparked calls for justice and reform, with friends and loved ones emphasizing Raqueto's determination and spirit in the face of adversity. The consequences for da Silva will be severe, since he faces charges of robbery followed by death. If convicted, he could be imprisoned for anywhere from 20 to 30 years. The case has not only highlighted the unfortunate end to a promising young woman's life, but also exposed the urgency of addressing mental health issues and violence in today's society. This grim tale is a harrowing reminder that even the most ordinary days can take a turn for the worse, leaving communities shattered and scrambling for answers. Number 7. Stranger danger. Tragedy struck one day in May 2023 when a young woman's life was cut short by an unprovoked attack, leaving her devastated family totally heartbroken. 31-year-old Johannita Dogby was walking along Stockwell Park Walk in Brixton, London on a bank holiday Monday when she was suddenly and viciously attacked. The incident occurred while she was minding her own business, speaking to her grandmother on the phone, an innocent moment that took a horrifying turn when a man came up behind her. Johannita, who was a dedicated charity worker and devout Christian, had a deep-seated commitment to making the world a better place. As the founder of the Odette Foundation, she wanted to provide help and support to individuals suffering from sickle cell disease in both Ghana and Togo. Her charitable efforts extended beyond her nation's borders, with her regular visits to West African countries and fundraising initiatives that took place in the UK. The shocking incident left her family and friends in disbelief and sorrow. Johannita's father, Yao, and younger brother, Maurice, expressed their grief, struggling to comprehend the senseless violence that had taken their loved one's life. They emphasized that there seemed to be no connection between Johannita and her killer, highlighting the random and inexplicable nature of this tragedy. A 33-year-old man named Mohammed Noor was later arrested on suspicion of murder and was taken into custody. Authorities confirmed that there was no connection between the victim and the apprehended suspect. Noor has since been accused of fatally stabbing Johannita from behind. And the woman's cause of death was officially identified as sharp force trauma to the neck. The incident cast a shadow over the community, prompting a heightened police presence in the area to address concerns and offer reassurance. Mohammed Nur is currently in custody as the case makes its way through court, with a provisional 3-week trial scheduled to start on April 29, 2024. Johannita's commitment to her charity work and her unwavering faith truly defined her outstanding character. She regularly attended a church near her Brixton home with her family. The close-knit group rushed to the scene after receiving the distressing news, and their grief was evident as they prayed near the barrier set up by the police. Johannita Dogby's legacy as a compassionate and altruistic individual underscores the profound loss experienced by everyone who had the pleasure of knowing her. Number 6. The wrong driveway. In an unexpected twist of events that shattered the calm of an ordinary day, a 20-year-old woman named Kaylin Gills was killed in April 2023 after a seemingly normal drive turned fatal in rural upstate New York. The incident unfolded when Kaylin and 3 friends mistakenly turned into the wrong driveway while looking for a friend's house. This innocent error led to a chain of events that ended in tragedy. As Kaylin, her boyfriend Blake Walsh, and 2 others in the car were looking for a friend's party, they unwittingly turned into the driveway of 65-year-old Kevin Monahan. Without any warning whatsoever, Monahan fired 2 shots from his porch, with one of the shots fatally hitting Kaylin, who was a passenger in the vehicle at the time. The incident happened in a remote area with limited cell service, where it's easy to get disoriented thanks to the lack of clear landmarks on the road. In an interview with NBC, Blake Walsh remembered the terrifying moments when the group realized their fatal mistake and tried to leave. He described his attempts to drive away as a shot rang out, hitting Kaylin. The tragic incident, marked by the randomness of the situation, left Kaylin's family and friends grappling with shock. In a distressing parallel, the incident went down shortly after another case involving a black teenager getting shot by a white homeowner after mistakenly visiting the wrong address. But in this scenario, both Kaylin and Monahan were white, dispelling any immediate racial dynamics. Witnesses said that the group didn't pose any threat to Monahan at all and were in the process of leaving when the shots were fired. Monahan, who's now been charged with second-degree murder, initially refused to work with law enforcement. The community and Kaylin's family are left dealing with the tragic loss of a young woman who was described as kind, optimistic, and full of potential. Friends and supporters have rallied around the grieving family, raising funds to cover funeral expenses and any financial needs through the process. The incident serves as a chilling reminder that a simple mistake can quickly escalate into a devastating tragedy. Kaylin Gill's untimely death raises critical questions about the use of force and the consequences of seemingly innocent error. For now, Monahan remains in custody, but his trial is slated to start in September 2023. Number 5. Revenge. On what started as an unremarkable day in June 2017, a horrifying tragedy unfolded near Orlando, Florida, when a recently terminated, disgruntled employee turned into a murderer, fatally shooting 5 of his old co-workers before deciding to take his own life. The incident happened at Flamma Incorporated, an Italy-based manufacturer of vehicle accessories, where the assailant came in armed with a handgun and knife, targeting individuals that he seemingly singled out. The assailant was quickly identified as 45-year-old John Robert Newman Jr., a former Army veteran who'd been honorably discharged back in 1999. His motive seemed to be grounded in a negative relationship he had with at least one of the several victims, although there was no indication of the man having any ties to extremist or terrorist groups. Authorities believe the act was driven solely by workplace violence rather than any larger motive. Newman's violent outburst took place at his former job, where he'd been dismissed from in April of that year. Local law enforcement reported that he had a small criminal record, and they'd responded to an incident involving Newman at Flamma Incorporated in the past, though no charges were ever filed. The shooting claimed the lives of 4 innocent victims at the scene, while a 5th victim passed away due to injuries at the hospital. The shooter ended his rampage by taking his own life. 7 other employees who were there during the attack managed to escape without being harmed, with reports indicating that at least one survivor was in the bathroom during the event, relaying the devastating news to her sister through a panicked phone call. Coming nearly a year after the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history at a nightclub in Orlando, the community was once again struck by another act of violence. Florida Governor Rick Scott invoked the Pulse shooting in his response to the crime, urging Floridians to offer their support to the victims' families and to remember the resilience the community had shown in the face of past tragedies. The incident highlighted the ongoing need for quick reporting of concerning behavior. Local officials have called on citizens to be vigilant and to report any troubling signs, emphasizing the importance of community cooperation in stopping future crimes. Number 4. Rosa King. In 2017, tragedy struck at Hamerton Zoo Park in Cambridgeshire as an employee named Rosa King was mauled to death by a Malayan tiger named Sisip. An investigation into the incident has now ruled the death as an accident, shedding some light on the circumstances that led up to the horrific event. 33-year-old Rosa King entered the enclosure to clean its viewing windows before the zoo opened to the public for the day, something she'd done hundreds of times before without any problems. But unbeknownst to her, a metal slide meant to keep the tiger away as she cleaned had been left open. The jury's findings revealed that this lapse allowed the animal to get out and attack her, causing traumatic injuries. King's body was found by a zoo visitor who peeked into the enclosure from the public viewing area, prompting alarms to be raised. The absence of witnesses to the attack left a gap in understanding what led up to the tragedy. The investigation revealed that a series of gates designed to ensure the safety of both keepers and visitors were also left open that day, contributing greatly to the unfortunate incident. A police inquiry found no mechanical faults, and the metal slides were easily noticeable, indicating that procedural human negligence was likely the main cause. The inquest revealed that the zoo's protocol required keepers to confirm the tigers were isolated through metal slides before entering enclosures. And the jury's conclusion of accidental death noted that the system heavily relied on keepers consistently following their training to avoid similar attacks. The assistant coroner who examined the victim's body, Nicholas Moss, emphasized that while the zoo had a straightforward safety system and Rosa was known for being overly conscious, this tragedy was attributed to human error, which can happen to anyone. The inquest also shed light on a potential role of fatigue in the incident. Rosa King had been working extremely long hours during the summer months at the zoo and assisting with night feeds for an African serval kitten. Despite her colleagues saying she was a diligent and cautious keeper, her tiredness might have contributed to a short lapse in judgment that had deadly consequences. Number 3. Casey Rivera. In May 2023, a heart-wrenching incident unfolded in Northern California. An accident took place when a motorist stopped to help a family of ducks safely cross the road, only to be struck and killed by a distracted teenage driver. The incident happened at around 8:15 p.m. near the intersection of Park Drive and Stanford Ranch Road in Rocklin, a community located about 25 miles northeast of Sacramento. The man's selfless act to help the ducklings who were in the middle of crossing the busy intersection turned into a devastating tragedy. The 17-year-old driver heading east on Stanford Ranch unintentionally hit the man. Miraculously, though, all of the ducks were unharmed. Thankfully, the young driver stayed at the scene, and although the investigation is ongoing, it seems unlikely that she'll face severe criminal charges, according to Rockland Police Captain Scott Harillo. Initial assessments indicate that there might not be sufficient evidence of criminal negligence for this case. The victim was identified as 41-year-old Casey Rivera. Neighbors who saw the incident applauded Rivera's compassionate efforts, and a 12-year-old boy described how Rivera was actively helping the ducklings and even walked in front of their car after guiding the ducklings to a safe place. The tragedy not only left a community in shock, but also prompted an outpouring of support for the victim's family members. Casey Rivera's widow, Angel Chow, expressed gratitude for the love and condolences they'd received. She also shared a heartfelt statement acknowledging the positive impact her husband had on other people's lives. This accident serves as a reminder of the unpredictable nature of life. A simple act of kindness on a normal day turned into a life-stopping incident, emphasizing the fragility of human existence. Number 2. Fatal yard work. In June 2023, a normal day turned tragic in Oakland as a 60-year-old man, David Schneider, was shot and killed while tending to his front yard. This incident marked the city's 50th homicide of the year, highlighting the devastating impact of violence. The fatal shooting took place around 6 p.m. on Camden Street near MacArthur Boulevard in Oakland's Maxwell Park neighborhood. David Schneider, commonly known as Dave, was in the process of trimming his overgrown hedges while standing on a ladder when he was shot in the back out of nowhere. Surveillance footage caught a white vehicle driving down the street and a person standing next to the moving car before driving away at high speeds. Witnesses at the scene tried to give CPR until first responders arrived, but their efforts were in vain. David Schneider had just celebrated his 60th birthday earlier in the month, and his family members remember him as a kind-hearted individual who'd readily help anyone in need if the opportunity arose. Friends, family, and neighbors held a vigil in his honor, gathering to remember the man who touched so many lives. Oakland Council member Kevin Jenkins joined the vigil, expressing the community's shared sense of fear thanks to the escalating levels of violence. He called for stricter gun laws at the congressional level, while also emphasizing the importance of local solutions to address deep-seated issues behind similar acts of violence. As the search for the killer and a motive continues to this day, Schneider's family is grappling with the rudeness of the act. His brother Alan Schneider expressed shock and disbelief, questioning why someone would ever resort to such extreme measures. The tragedy serves as a reminder that life can take an unexpected turn, even on days that seem like any other. Number 1. Who let the dogs out? In Highland, Indiana, a normal day turned terrifying when a woman was attacked by a group of 8 to 10 dogs while walking down the street with her own pet. The incident unfolded on August 8, 2023 at around 9:18 p.m. on the 3500 block of Jewett Street. Responding officers arrived at a chaotic scene, finding 28-year-old Amber Nayart, who'd been walking her dog, in the middle of a vicious dog attack. The dogs responsible for the attack escaped from a nearby yard, and Nayart tried to shield her own pet from the onslaught. But in the process, she was bitten by one of the larger pups in the group. Witnesses at the scene bravely stepped in, trying to separate the aggressive animal from Nayart and her dog, but they were also bitten. As the situation escalated, an unknown man came in and shot one of the attacking dogs to stop the attack. Tragically, the animal didn't survive from its injuries. Nayart's dog was rushed to a veterinarian, but thanks to the severity of its wounds, it had to be euthanized. Amber Nayart suffered injuries to her arms and legs and was taken to the hospital for treatment. Her attorney, David Gladish, acknowledged the intervention of Good Samaritans that likely helped save her life. But despite their best efforts, Nayart sustained substantial tissue damage and emotional distress from seeing her beloved pet fatally mauled. The owner of the dogs was present at the scene and tried to jump in and stop the attack. Police and animal control investigators are still looking into the incident, with charges pending against the dog's owner. If you were taking a walk and saw a family of ducks trying to cross a busy road, would you stop and try to help them get across safely, even though you were at risk of being hit by a car? Or would you let them figure out how to get across on their own and continue on your way? Let us know what you'd do in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching today, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.